What's going on, guys? Happy Saturday. Hope you're having a good weekend. So today I'm going to talk about this week's Bullseye trade. So very quick recap for people that aren't in Bullseye trades. And what it is it's a service by Jeff Bishop of RagingBull.com, and they send out one idea on a Monday morning. Usually it's like a tech stock or an energy stock, and the idea is it's just one idea, a bunch of due diligence plus a live stream. Probably about 2 hours after the idea comes out. So you can join Jeff and check out what he's having to say about it in more detail. And basically, it's been an amazing service. So one options trade a week, and I've kept track of all of those for the last 7 or 8 months, 9 months now. So I have the track record for the whole of 2022. So the dates and the contracts, so you can go and check these out for yourself. I've compiled it for the whole of this year, which is pretty cool, and put whether it was a win, whether it was a loss, and then in these videos, which I've been posting sometimes, not all the times, on the site here, you can get an idea of like my thoughts on the trade and kind of a better, deeper insight, post-game analysis kind of thing on these trades. So if you're looking to join the service, just come to the link below. It's my full review, and there's links there where you can buy it, I think here. And unfortunately, the price has gone up recently. It was $97 for a year, which is absolutely ridiculously low. Because as you'll see, even if you buy one contract on these trades, you'll make 2 or 3 times that a week sometimes, if it's a winning trade. So it's an absolute bargain at this. It's actually gone up to $97 a quarter now, which is still an absolute bargain. But the people that got in early, when I first started talking about this, will probably be doing a lot better in terms of cost, but also in terms of how they're playing these trades. So anyway, quick recap of last week's trades, so not this week's. I just want to talk about it again. I did a video about this on the channel, and it was probably the biggest losing trade we've had for a while, so I took a 50% loss. I have a pretty hard stop loss at 50% on these trades, because I know that each week I'll probably make somewhere between 30 and 100%, and I'm okay giving that back once every 5 to 10 trades. I'm absolutely fine with that. But what I don't want to do is have 2 or 3 losing trades back to back where it's like a 90% losing trades, because that'll really hurt. And I want to make sure that I'm consistently making money, which I am with this service, which is great. So anyway, that was last week's trade. This week's trade basically, so it's Saturday, so this last week's trade was Netflix. And so this caused a little bit of controversy amongst the people I know that have Bullseye. And it was a huge winning trade, but there was a few problems with it, so I want to talk about what I did and basically like what went wrong with this trade in terms of what Jeff Bishop sent out. If you haven't checked out my video with Jeff Bishop, make sure you come to this review. I put a video where I sat down and talked with Jeff Bishop all about these trades. It's on here somewhere. There we go. So it's on the channel, but it's also on the this review site as well that I post on. So come and check it out. It was really fun to talk to Jeff about Bullseye trades. Well, let's get into this week's trade. So it was Netflix. I'll show you what Jeff Bishop sent out. Here it is here. So Bullseye pick of the week was Netflix. This came out on Monday morning, September 6th. So at the start of this week. And he actually called it really well this week. He said, I'm actually bullish on the market. And the market actually did exactly what he expected. It did make a significant bounce. So if we take a quick look at the markets, this is Netflix, but if we look at just SPY for the last 5 days, Jeff called it. It bounced really nicely. So he was spot on with that, and his idea of Netflix worked really well as well. So let me just show you the trade in more detail here. So going down, he always looks for relative strength, so Netflix was outperforming the market. And so you like that. It was one of the largest cap tech stocks over the past couple of months. And so even after back-to-back disastrous earning reports, the company is finally finding its footing and has been grinding higher from 180 to 250 a couple of weeks ago. I like this casual pullback to 225, and I'm looking at an entry there. If I'm wrong, I'm keeping a close below 218 on this stock. Now this is something that some people missed out. And so I know a lot of people that made money on this trade and a lot of people who missed it. And the people that made money on this trade were the ones that followed this particular part of the trade. So I'll talk a little bit more about that, but I want to emphasize for you guys that are in Bullseye that you have to, like Jeff does all this on a daily chart. If it dips below 218 intraday, he sees that as a buying opportunity, not a stop out. it has to go on the close for that day. And so we definitely saw some weird price action. I'll talk about that in a bit. Anyway, if things go my way, I'd like to see Netflix rip to over 240 in the next week or two. That would be the ideal exit. And here's the trade details right here. So I actually went to his live thing that runs about an hour or so later, and he went into all this in detail. So there was a bit of mix-up in the options contracts, but I didn't let that dissuade me from the trade. I've seen enough of these dip hard to know that often the dips are a buying opportunity rather than, something to avoid. And I think part of the problem with this trade was when he released it, and I'll show you the contracts in a sec. When he released this trade, the calls weren't trading near $5. But I didn't really pay much attention to that because the underlying is what I was kind of looking at more, and I think that's where the misunderstanding came from. So let's have a look at the September 23rd 230 calls. So here's the 23rd 230 calls are right here. Wow, they're up a lot, 100%. So I'm going to send those to my charts here, yellow over here. Hopefully this loads. It's kind of struggling a little bit here. Taking its time. Let me try it again, see if it will load. Just go back to the chart. Go back here. Find the 230s. It's not loading the contracts, which is really frustrating. Just kind of sitting there. Well, anyway, let me just load the chart. I don't know why it's doing that. I know they did come up with a warning that some sort of maintenance was going on, so it's not that relevant anyway. I'll show you what happened. And so this was Monday. I'll zoom in. Come on. Man, I can't work anything today. Let me just zoom out again. Netflix, pull it up. Here we go. Alright, let me see if I can drag my mouse cursor properly this time. There we go. Alright, so this was Monday, and the problem here was when this opened, it went straight down, as did the market. So the market went down, Netflix came down, wasn't too much of a surprise. The problem was, even when this had dropped all the way down here, the calls that he was suggesting were still above what he was hoping to get in at. And they were like $6, and he was hoping to get in around $5. Eventually, they did come down, and some people got an entry way down here at like $5.50 on those particular calls. So these ones, September 23rd, near 5. So a lot of people were getting in around $5.50. The problem here, though, and this is what I see a lot, is because last week before this trade was a bad one, people saw this and got freaked out and didn't even bother entering because it dipped to 215. But what people like what I did, and I'm a horrible trader, I'm not trying to say, like I did anything special here. I just waited for this drop to kind of consolidate, and then I just bought in around here somewhere. Even though it was at 216, I figured it would get back up to 218 before the close, and it did, and it held 218 at the close. So for me, that was a gift, and that's what Jeff kind of covered. And I think people that are new to Bullseye might have been freaked out by this, but I think the important thing is, like, if you buy near the close, for example, you'll know that you're not, this is like a perfect entry, right? It's very close to the stop. And I think people don't realize, or people that are new to this don't realize, is how volatile Bullseye Trades is. Like, you can look how much it moved like the next day. It's like down $10, up $10. So if you enter close to the stop here at 218, and then basically keep a tight leash on it, you're not going to take much of a loss at all. But the upside is massive, like huge. And that's what happened. It went all the way up to 234 and made people a lot of money. So it doubled in price on the contracts. For me, I actually took spicier contracts, and I actually played it twice. I missed out on the big move way up to here and above, but I played a move from the consolidation here. I took some profits up here because it had re-established above 218, and then I actually added back here when it closed at 218ish, or just above 218, and I got a really nice boost at the the open, and I actually took came to about 50% profits off on the next day. So it was really good. So that's kind of like my overview of this trade. It worked as expected, except the morning open was very volatile. We had a very steep dip in the markets, and Netflix followed it. But what I noticed with Netflix, so this was it right here. So this was the sell-off on the market. So what I noticed with Netflix though is it didn't seem to be reacting as violently as the market was. It was kind of more calm, which helped make a decision about whether to buy in or not. So I know some people bought at $5.50, which is close to Jeff's price, and then sold at $10 way up here, and you can see them because they comment on the original post. There was this confusion at the open, but here's what Jeff did. So Netflix was around 218 when I entered the trade yesterday. When the options were close to $5, Netflix closed up over $10 from that level today. This guy entered at 5.6 and closed at 9 today. That's fantastic. Spot on again. Netflix looking pretty weak, spelt with two E's. Going from looking good to looking weak. So overall, I think this was an amazing trade. I think Jeff messed up the options a little bit. He probably, it seems like he put too high of or too low of an options price on the original trade idea before the market opened. But nevertheless, it worked perfectly. It worked really well. So you can see that people are like, there's always one guy who goes, "This was bad advice. Give me another pick." It's like, no, it dipped. Take it as a bargain. Buy in, keep a tight stop around 218-ish, and take your profits when it goes the other way, which is really good. So you can see people were confused though, and this wasn't the best in terms of how he explained it, but I just looked at the underlying. I didn't even take these same contracts. I used his sort of diligence on the underlying, and then I bought different contracts. I think I bought like the September 16th ones, and they moved really nicely overnight, a particular night. So yeah, hopefully that's helpful. There's always the next week, but you know, when you come off the back of a loss like this one, which was 50% loss for me. Some people took more like a 90% loss though, so that might be something else. If you did take a 90% loss, you might want to think a little bit about that, just because it only takes two 90% losses in a row before you won't even take the next trade. And I know a lot of people were so mad because this trade didn't work that they didn't take Netflix, especially because it was kind of crazy. And so I made all my losses back from CELH plus more, quite a bit more, on this Netflix trade, whereas a lot of people that maybe are newer to the service probably ended up at a net negative over the last couple of weeks. So you just have to kind of go through it a little bit. I treat all these services as due diligence services, not like plug and play. You've got to actually like look at the charts, figure out like what what the thought process is, and kind of learn. It's like any trading, you got to learn and make it your own sort of thing. So anyway, hopefully that was helpful. Go and check out the review. It's got every single trade on it, and basically everything you need to know to get started with Bullseye trades, or to improve your trading with Bullseye if it's not going as well as you'd hope. Alright guys, talk to you soon.